Hi there, I'm Susie from Addi King, Loomers and Knits. As promised, I am going to show how to make my Newsboy hat. I wrote this pattern about a year ago. It's in Ravelry as a paid download, but I'm going to show you today for free on YouTube how to accomplish this. So you could either take notes or you can buy the pattern at Ravelry. Okay, what you will need is the Provocraft Purple Loom 48 peg adult hat loom. This is not the yellow loom that comes in four set, you know, like you get at Walmart. This one has the pegs are slightly closer together to give a tighter knit. Okay, I was told that if you use the all-in-one loom, you could get the same kind of spacing if you use 2 pegs to equal 1 peg on this purple loom. So you can keep that in mind. I've never done it that way, but I was assured that you could get the same spacing. What you will need is a crochet hook, okay, like a 5mm. I'm using a 5.5, okay. 2 buttons, because on this hat we put a little band with a button on each side, okay. 2 markers for your loom and your yarn. You will need to know how to E-wrap for sure, purl to make a U-wrap. This is to make our increase stitch. The slip stitch on this, we do not wrap it, okay, as you will see. And we start off, we do a crochet cast on to give it a nicer edge on the visor. Okay, so I guess we'll get started. All right. Using 48 pegs, okay, we will place a marker on the 5th peg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place a marker. Then, starting from the 5th peg, we count 16 to place another marker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we put a marker there. Okay. So we're going to start off by using, oh, I should add, okay, the yarn that I'm using is the Burnett Premium. It is a worsted weight. It's a 4-ply. I'm using 3 strands. And why? I have found by making this pattern a few times, I've used different yarns. I've used a boucle mixed in with a worsted, mixed in with a chunky to make the visor. I've done it single, I've done it double, I've done it different ways. But I found by using 3 strands, it makes a nicer visor because of the thickness. And I think you will too. I tried it with 2 strands of this yarn and it still wasn't thick enough for my liking. So it depends on the yarn you're using. Okay, so we start off by making a slip knot, and we put it on the peg with the marker. Now we don't put that too tight, but you know, a decent tightage. Okay. Then we're going to crochet cast on all of the pegs. So I hope you will follow along with me because I'm doing this in real time. I will not be pausing this video. So if I go too fast, which I doubt will be the case because I haven't loomed in a while, we're going to crochet cast on from the 5th peg to the 16th peg. crochet cast on is quite simple. You put it between the peg, wrap your yarn over, pull it through. Hope you can see that. Can you see it? So you're wrapping your peg, you're wrapping your crochet hook, and you're pulling it through. If you don't know how to do any of these stitches and you find I am going too fast, I suggest that perhaps you watch maybe Kristen's video from Goodnight Kisses. She has a nice collection there of how to do different stitches. So you can just search, actually, just like, it's one thing about YouTube, it reminds me of Google in some ways. You just have to type in what you're looking for and it will bring up a whole bunch of options for you, and you can pick which one works for you. Okay, so I just lost my hook out of there. Okay. I am not a professional, as you can see, okay? So I'm learning along with everybody else. It's just sometimes I have ideas, maybe others don't. And I'm sure you have ideas that I don't. So feel free to make a video and teach the rest of us. We want to learn too. Okay. What am I doing? You put, okay, so when you get to the second to last peg, you just put that loop over on that peg that has the marker. You don't need to wrap it. Just put it on top of that peg. Okay, so all your pegs has a crochet cast on. Next, quite simply, bring your yarn to the back. We are going to make a U-stitch, okay? So just like cast on that we have here, our yarn is always from the back. So we are going to just bring it behind the empty peg and simply not E-wrap it, but just make like a U and put the yarn behind the second to last peg, which is the marker, and E-wrap that. So from back to front, you E-wrap, and then you knit over. And continue that right to the last marker. So you're going to E-wrap all the way back. And I would suggest doing it one at a time, because if you E-wrap and then knit over afterwards, I find it has spacing and it doesn't look as nice. So I would suggest you just do them one at a time, and it will be a little more even than it would if you just wrapped all your pegs and then knit over. So right back to the marker, you E-wrap. Hopefully you don't make your stitches too tight when you're doing this. A happy medium if possible, because if you make it too tight, you risk breaking your pegs. And on this loom, I find their pegs are more brittle than others. At least that's what I found on this one. I've broken 2 pegs on here, and not having replacements, I have 2 that are a little bit shorter than the rest. But at least they work. Okay, so you're E-wrapping all the way back. And my stitches are tight, like I was telling you not to do. Hopefully the next row will not be as tight. It's been a while since I loom knitted, so it takes practice. All right, so that was our first stitch, which I will tighten a little bit. Now we're at our marker. We're going to make another U-stitch, and then we're going to purl all the way back. So if you do not know how to purl, this is how purl is done. Okay. First, like I said, you're doing a U-stitch. So you're just bringing your yarn from the back to the front. Okay. Holding the yarn in front of the next peg where the marker is, you take the top stitch and you go over that yarn, bringing that loop up, pulling that loop off or that stitch off. I prefer to do it upside down like this because it's a lot easier. Okay, so you're pulling that off and then putting it back onto the peg. So you pull it off and pull it back on. So if you're putting your loom upside down, which is quite a lot easier to do than the other way, you will see the 3 stitches that you have on your peg, and then you put your yarn on top because it's upside down, right? So you're taking the bottom stitch, looping it, taking that stitch off, and putting it back on. And that's how you purl. And you're going to do that all the way back. And one thing I want to mention, for those who want to do YouTube videos, it would be nice if you would be a little more descriptive. Sister Mary Margaret, or Margaret Mary, excuse me, if I don't have it right, pointed out to me that a lot of people who are visually challenged, even though they might not be able to see very well, they will listen to the YouTube videos. So if you can be a little more descriptive in doing your videos, it takes a little practice. But if you're aware that, I wasn't aware of this, but if you're aware that people are listening to the videos, it would help them greatly. Just something I wanted to point out. So we're still purling all the way back to the last stitch, or the U stitch. We're going to purl that as well. If I'm going too fast, pause the video. If I'm going too slow, bear with me. And I'm hoping that I'm in camera view. It's hard to see the viewer from here. I'm trying to get it as close as possible. And I think I'm going to put this on pause because I just have somebody come in. Okay. Pause doesn't work. As I was saying, and we put it right to the end. All right, now you're going to make a U-stitch, wrap from the back to the front, bottom over the top, and you're going to E-wrap all the way back, including the U-stitch that you did over there. Whoops. Peg came off. Okay. E-wrapping all the way back. Oops. Paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay. Bottom over the top. Including the U-stitch. Okay, so now we've completed that row. Okay, now it's going to be our purl row. So again, you're going to make a U-stitch. I'm going to turn upside down. Okay, bottom over the top. Purl all the way back, including the U-stitch. Now we're going to continue like this until the last fourth empty peg that we had. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Now you don't want to lose a stitch. Okay, one more time. Okay. It's a little more of a challenge when you got 3 strands going, I guess. Did I mention I wasn't a professional? Okay. Oh boy. You know, it's a lot more of a challenge to do these videos than to watch them, that's for sure. Okay, now we're getting down to our last stitch. This is our U-stitch. Now we're going to purl it. All right, another one done. All right, so we have 2 more to go. So U-stitch, E-wrap all the way back. So you can see that it's starting to take shape, okay? This is your visor. So it makes it like a slant, if you will. And those of you who have never loom knit before, I would encourage you to try at least once to see what you've been missing. It's actually, it's quite addictive once you get going on it, like anything else. And it's a lot, you know, if you go on an airplane, it's a lot easier probably to take a loom and a hook than it would be for knitting needles. I don't know what the protocol right now is on an airplane. I can't see how a hook would be a problem because it's not short, it's not sharp. I don't know what they regard these picks as being dangerous or not. I can't imagine somebody sticking you and killing you with a pick unless you got it in the artery. But I would say that it would be a little more acceptable than knitting needles. And I like the way the E-wrap is a little different than a regular stockinette stitch. It gives like a more of a ridge. I'm a hand knitter, but I do like to loom knit too. Okay. Now, we're going to make another U and come back and purl. Okay. Bottom over the top. Pull it through, pull it off, loop it over. Pull it off. And when you're finished your visor, there are many different stitches that you can use to complete your hat. Your loom knitters who will be doing all of this on the loom will continue any which way you want to finish it. I mean, you can E-wrap it all, which that's the way I've done it. And then do like a decrease the crown, or you can I don't know, you can do lots of different stitches. So if you want to make a slouchy with it, you want to make a beanie, you want to make, you know, different patterns on your hat. I mean, it all looks great with the visor. For the Addi users, we are going to transfer our visor onto the machine. And it's basically just taking it from the loom and placing it on the needles. Yes, there are 48 pegs on here, and there's 46 on the Addi machine, but we will compensate. So you'll have 2 needles that will have double stitches just for one time going, and you can't even notice. So, and then you would just do a regular hat style. You could either just go around for the length you want your hat. Depends on the yarn you're using for the length, so you will have to judge that on your own, the length, because I can't tell you how many rows, because as you know, it really depends on the yarn you're using. So measure your head, and then I would take a measuring tape and just measure from my head to the length that I want for my hat, because the visor, as you know, it sticks out. Okay, this is our last stitch. And we're going to U-wrap our last peg, because that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And E-wrap all the way back, including the U-stitch over there. Okay, so what else did I want to tell you about the Addi hat? Oh, you can also do a decreasing at the end. You can do that on knitting needles if you want to use waste yarn at the end of it. You just transfer it onto the needles. And then you would decrease. Now I've got a decrease pattern written down in the directions. You would have to maybe I can give you the specs on it at the end if I can remember to do so. Or you can just cast off like you normally would for a hat and pull the string to draw it and close it like normal. Really depends on how you want to finish it. I will put a link below my video in case anybody would prefer to buy the pattern than just to take notes. I mean, do whatever. It's there for those who want it. For those who rather not, that's fine too. No problem. I'm doing this just to help everybody. It's just that it's been listed on Ravelry for a while and it's not free, so that's the way it is. Okay, now we're doing our last U-stitch, coming back to purl. Okay. It's tight. Yeah, come on. Purling all the way back. And when we get to the end here, your visor will be complete. It might not look very wide right now, but trust me, it'll be wide when you're finished. Oh, if anyone has an idea to make it, the visor bigger, if you will, let me know. I've tried different ways and I can't seem to get it to go bigger. I mean, it's fine like this, don't get me wrong, but I don't know about you, I like a bigger visor. I just haven't figured out a way of doing it. I think the bigger the visor, the nicer it looks. This is like medium, I guess. And size hats you can make with the visor. You can make for a child, you can make for an adult. It just depends on how many rows you complete your hat, just like anything else. If you only did a little bit, it would be a small hat, wouldn't it? Anyways, a small hat with a bigger brim, that's how you make a bigger brim. But no, I would like to know how to make it bigger. There are a few different ways of making a visor. This is just mine. Some people do a little differently for the edges. I like it this way because it makes a rounder edge than a square. I prefer the rounded look than a square look. That's my own personal opinion. There's nothing wrong with the other one. And I've seen a lot of people do it. It looks perfectly fine. It's just my preference. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Okay, last stitch. Okay, so there you have it. There's your visor. Now, it doesn't look that big, does it? But it will look bigger because we got to make a band. And the band is like 3 or 4 rows, or however you decide to make your band, okay? I've seen people who like making a very narrow band and others who make a very wide band. It depends on your own style. So I will show you my way, okay? You can decide how many rows you want to do, but this is how many I do. So we're going to crochet all the empty pegs all the way around, okay? Crochet cast on just like we started. All right, so with our crochet hook, we are going to crochet a cast on all the way around our empty remaining pegs, preferably with all 3 strands. Okay. So much easier when you're on the couch. You're doing it on the table like this, using a little TV table, but it's hard on the shoulder doing it like this. Come on, you. Not only that, it's a little more of a challenge to do because you're not holding it the way you're used to holding it, and you drop your stitches. So if I was sitting down on the couch doing this, I would have that up on my lap, and it'd be going a lot easier than what it is right now. So you find your own comfort zone and how you like to crochet cast on. But this way, I keep dropping them. Okay. One more time. Okay. Okay. Try and not do it too tight or too loose, because if you do it too tight, it'll be hard to knit off, number 1, and hard on the pegs, number 2. So do a happy medium if possible. Not only that, it looks nicer edge when it's equal, like that. I'm sliding all over the place here. Okay. I'm not getting my arm in the camera is not easy, especially when I'm doing this. Okay. All right, so we're at our last empty peg. So we take that stitch, we don't crochet cast on it, we just loop it over that stitch. Okay, so now you have a little opening here because you haven't connected those yet, and we will be connecting them, because if we don't connect them, then you're going to have a flat panel, and we don't want a flat panel. So we will be E-wrapping. E-wrapping. Just double check here. Pretty sure it's E-wrapping. This pattern is an illustrated one, so it's just have to find it. Okay. Okay, that's it. You're E-wrapping all the pegs, starting with peg number 1. Making sure this is the tightest stitch for the joint of the hat and knit off. The reason why I said that is because if you don't make it tight, you're going to have a little bit of a gap, and you don't want that. So you want to make sure that these 2 pegs, this little short peg of mine because it's been broken, are going to be tight together, okay? So make sure this yarn, first of all, is behind the peg, and you're going to E-wrap and knit off. Okay, so bringing the bottom over the top, making sure that's tight. It'll work out. And try not to break your peg. Okay, there you go. So we're going to E-wrap all the way around. So just continue to do that. Don't E-wrap the rest of them tight. You don't need to. It's just that first stitch. So we're just going to E-wrap all the way around until you get back to your first peg. Because if you make them all tight, then you're going to have a terrible time when you go, because the next round is going to be a purl. Now there is a method for those who are just going to loom knit this whole hat. There is a decreasing that you can do on the loom. I remember seeing it somewhere. So you can always Google and find a decrease for the loom if you want to make it a nice finish on the end of the hat, for example. For those who are doing Addi and want to do it a decreasing instead of the drawstring method, then there is a hand knitting way of doing it as well. Just go by 46 stitches. Okay, be creative. I love to see different ideas come from this. Oh, and that's another thing I just remembered. Cheryl. Sorry, I don't remember your last name. She PM'd me today from the group and said that she made herself her first how-to video on how to make a sock on the Addi machine in English. Congratulations, Cheryl. That's fantastic. Now we have something to watch, and she's got it on at least an angle where you can see better. Don't get me wrong, the German lady, I forget her name, but I'm terrible on names. She did a good job. It's just it was hard to see exactly what she was doing. And in being not in our language, it was more of a challenge to understand. So some people made big efforts in making it easy for us to follow a pattern. Like Chris Green. She made like a diagram pattern. I thought that was fantastic. Just her little way of helping out. But now we have a video, and that's great news. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. See, I'm talking away here, and here I've gone a little bit too far. Okay, so we're back at our first stitch. Let me get that stitch back over. Okay. All right. Now we're going to, on our first stitch, I'm turning it upside down like I normally do for purling. And we're going to purl all the way around. So bringing the yarn to the back, bringing it through the 2 pegs, and then in front of the first peg we do our purl stitch, just like we did before. Sliding around here. Okay. So it should be a lot easier now to do that sock. Just like anything else, it takes practice. See, I was tight, so I'm trying to be careful on my pegs. God forbid I break another one. Jeez. Told you I wasn't professional. That must be 3 times I've said it now. I do my how-to videos more of a how-to video blog, I guess, because I yak through it. But I totally agree with, was it Pam who mentioned it? Pam Loomer, that when you're learning, sometimes if you're too much of a professional who's showing how to do something, they forget the little things. Try to get in the camera here. And they forget the little things that a professional will take for granted that you know. And if you're learning too, you're bound to remember how to do things. But one thing, folks, remember, when you're viewing somebody's YouTube video, whether it's mine or somebody else's, do them a favor and check their like button. It shows that you appreciate them taking the time and effort in showing you how to do the project. I mean, I guess that's the least we could do, because it takes a long time, as you can imagine, to make a video, not to mention make up that pattern. I mean, there are a lot of creative folks out there, and if you're interested in what they do, by all means subscribe. And hey folks, you don't need a YouTube channel to make videos. You can use that YouTube channel just like anything else. It's attached to Google+, which is basically like Facebook in some ways, only it's video blogs that people do. And if you don't want to make a video, that's fine. You can post there too. But it's key to have feedback from your viewers. And if you like what you see and you subscribe to their channel, every time they make a video, you'll be able to be informed. Usually it's sent to your email box of the next video that they put up. And that's why subscription is good to have. But the like button is important because it shows that you appreciate the work that they do. Just some key factors to keep in consideration when you're viewing people's videos. This is not fast, as you can see, but we're getting there. Look, see, it's getting bigger. And if you have questions on somebody's video and it hasn't been in the video, by all means ask it. But make sure that the question that you're asking is, how do I put that, is related to what you've seen. Okay. Just like in the group, we don't mind questions. I mean, we're happy enough to answer them. And if we don't know the answer, okay, we won't say anything. We'll wait for another group member to maybe key in there and who can answer. We do our best. My administrators are hardworking folks that are really putting in their time helping out our group. I mean, when I can't be on, they're on, and they do a lot of work. And they don't get paid. This is all volunteer. None of us get paid. So be patient. We do the best we can. It's the best anybody can expect. But we do as we can. Don't mind questions, but we also would like some participation, like, you know, don't be shy. You know, if you think you can contribute and, oops, I pulled there. You can contribute in some knowledge, by all means, post. I mean, answer questions if you think you know the answer. If you don't know 100%, but you have an idea, you can give your idea. And this chat thing that we have going on for our members, it's been very helpful to many. Most of the time they are talking about their projects and suggestions, and if somebody has a problem, it maybe is more of a live help for them. Sometimes I will remind people to, if you got something personal, to perhaps go on a private chat to talk about it if you wish, and not use that chat for that reason. But it is to get to know each other. I mean, it's been very helpful for that, and I recommend you to join that if you feel it's something that you could use. The only thing is, you have to be on my friends list in order to be put on the chat, because it's the way Facebook has drawn it up. Now I've dropped a peg out, and it's one of those broken ones, so it's a little shorter and it comes out sometimes. So put it back in. I'll put my stitch back on. I'll catch up to you. Like I said, I'm not fast either. Okay. sure some of you are saying, I'm already finished. No doubt. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to finish off this row. I'm probably going to go around another couple of times. Okay. And you can do the same thing or do more if you want. And then continue on with your hat. For those who are just going to loom knit this. You Addi users, I will continue this video in part 2 for Addi. Okay, so you loom knitters, you can continue making a wider brim. We only got a couple here, right? And this brim here with a couple of extra rows, it's going to come out a little bit more. So the wider your brim, the more your visor will stick out. And so when you finish your hat, okay, and you take it off, all right, you will see that your visor is nicely rounded, if you will. Okay, the edging, put it this way, the edging will be on a slant. Your tail you will weave in, okay, and maybe give it a little bit of a tug when you're weaving it in to make it smooth. Okay, so it's got a rounded look and not a square look. If you want a square look, well, make it square, but this is made for a round look. You will see. So continue with that. Make your brim as wide as you want. Keep going around. So you knit one row, purl one row, knit one, purl. You can do it that way. And then continue whatever method you want to make your hat. And like I said, if you for how many rows you're going to do for your hat, it really depends on the size of your head and the yarn that you're using. So you'll have to measure your head and then measure the hat accordingly. And hey, if you make it too big, well, you can always take it down a bit, and it's not a big deal. You just frog a little bit and shorten it. Just make sure it's long enough, because it's hard to put back on the pegs once that's off the pegs. If you're going to decrease, you might want to weave a little lifeline in there so you won't lose your stitches. That's a suggestion. And I guess that covers it. I hope this has been helpful to you. But that is the brim. Like I said, it will grow as the band grows. So I'll leave you with that. And Addi users, we will go to part 2 after this. See you later.